It was supposed to be just another night on The Daily Show, until Jon Stewart torched Meghan Markle's image live on air. With one brutal punchline, he compared her to Brigitte Macron, calling her a mini Macron, a woman known for slapping her man into place and controlling the room like a general. The internet exploded. The crowd laughed. And Meghan? She lost it. Behind the scenes, her team went into full meltdown mode, calling the joke sexist, outdated, and deeply unfair. But here's the twist. The public didn't agree. They cheered. They memed it. And suddenly, Meghan's perfectly polished brand started cracking in real time.
It doesn't have to be this way. Hey, girl. Down on your luck. You get a podcast, you can still terrorize people. And no, I do not want to be on it.
Because this wasn't just a cheap jab. It wasn't tabloid bait. It was Jon Stewart, the guy people still look to as one of the sharpest comedic minds in media, a liberal icon, a political satirist who chooses his targets carefully. So when he goes after Meghan Markle, people pay attention. And this time, he didn't just roast her. He detonated a public image that had been carefully choreographed for years. Let's break down what made this joke so devastating. The Brigitte Macron comparison wasn't random. It was surgical. Brigitte is the French First Lady, yes, but more importantly, she's often portrayed as icy, domineering, and publicly in control of her husband. There's even a viral clip of her swatting away Emmanuel Macron's hand like he's a misbehaving intern. So when Stewart labeled Meghan as her mini, he wasn't just mocking her, he was reframing her entire public persona. Not as a bold, independent woman, but as a controlling figure turning her partner into a prop. And that hit a nerve. Not just with Meghan, but with an entire audience that had been quietly shifting its perspective. You could feel the change immediately. Memes spread like wildfire. Side-by-side photos of Meghan and Brigitte, clips of Prince Harry awkwardly holding her bag, tweets reading, "Boss babes" or "Bossy babes." The crowd wasn't outraged. They were relieved, like someone had finally said what many had been thinking but were too afraid to voice. See, for years, Meghan's brand walked a tightrope. Empowerment meets victimhood. Royalty meets rebellion. And for a while, it worked. She was the outsider, challenging an outdated institution, a fresh, modern voice against a rigid monarchy. But that image only works if people believe it's real. And lately, that belief has been fading, from canceled Netflix projects to awkward red carpet appearances. From failed podcast deals to public fatigue, Meghan's media presence has slowly turned from inspiring to exhausting. Then came the final nail. Her podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder. It was supposed to be smart, groundbreaking, a space where powerful women shared the gritty details of building something from scratch. Instead, listeners got shallow affirmations, vague anecdotes, and a lot of "thank you for asking," without actually answering anything. It was like listening to a TED Talk, recorded in a Lululemon fitting room, and Jon Stewart ate it alive. He didn't even have to be cruel. He just pointed at it and said the obvious. It's not about female founders, it's about a foundering female. The audience howled. And somewhere in Montecito, a PR assistant probably shut their laptop and quit on the spot. The brilliance of that joke, it exposed a painful truth. Meghan had never actually founded anything. No business, no product, no team. The only thing she truly built was a media brand tied to her royal title. And even that was starting to crumble. What made it worse was the timing. Just as her Spotify deal was falling apart, just as the Pearl animated series got quietly canned, just as critics were asking, what exactly is she doing again? Stewart's joke wasn't just well-written, it was well-timed. Like he reached into the air and grabbed the exact moment the public stopped buying the brand. And the panic? Oh, it was real. Insiders said Meghan was humiliated, furious that someone she assumed would be an ally had flipped the script. Her team tried to frame it as sexist, tried to spin the narrative, but it didn't stick. Because here's the ugly truth, people didn't see it as sexist, they saw it as accurate, and Jon Stewart didn't stop there, because just when Meghan thought the roast was over, he turned the camera toward Prince Harry. And that's when the handbag memes really took off. If Meghan thought she could ride out the storm, she wasn't ready for what came next. Because Jon Stewart didn't stop with her. he turned that same razor-sharp sarcasm toward Prince Harry. And the result was even more brutal. He called him an unemployed immigrant who gave up his family, his home, and now carries his wife's handbag at charity dinners. The line was fast, surgical, and instantly visual. You could see it. Harry, once the royal rebel, reduced to a background prop in Meghan's PR campaign. And you know what's worse than being mocked? Being pitied. That joke wasn't just funny, it stuck. Within hours, memes were everywhere. Harry edited into that viral Macron clip, awkwardly reaching for Meghan's hand while she waved him off. Like a distracted CEO. It was a punchline so sharp it redrew their entire dynamic in the public eye. Not power couple, not modern royals, but boss and intern. For years, Harry had positioned himself as the guy who chose love over legacy, who walked away from the crown to protect his wife and find his voice. But the voice? It's been eerily quiet. At every public event lately, Meghan's the one speaking, directing, leading. Harry stands beside her, smiling, silent, nodding like an overpaid security guard in a tux. Now let's be clear, this isn't about gender roles or power dynamics. This is about optics. And right now, the optics are brutal. Because when the public starts to see you as an accessory to your partner's journey, sympathy vanishes. And comedy moves in. The irony, their entire post-royal brand was built on authenticity. They left the palace, they said, because it was too scripted, too fake, too cold. But what followed didn't feel much different. Carefully staged paparazzi walks, home footage that somehow looked professionally color-graded, Netflix specials where even the candid moments felt like polished monologues. They didn't escape the PR machine. They built their own. And here's where Jon Stewart's joke became a turning point. Because it wasn't cruel, it wasn't conspiratorial, it was observed. That's what made it land so hard. He didn't invent criticism of the Sussexes, he just spoke what people already sensed. He said the quiet part out loud. And once a respected progressive voice joins the mockery, it's no longer a political divide, it becomes cultural. Before Stewart's bit, most of the Meghan backlash lived in tabloids or conservative media. Afterwards, it was everywhere. Not just in right-wing rants or bitter headlines, it was in memes, TikToks, group chats. Suddenly people weren't just questioning Meghan, they were laughing at her. And here's where it gets dangerous, because in the media, attention is currency, and Meghan's was running out, not because she did something outrageous, but because she stopped being compelling. You could feel the fatigue. Same poses, same buzzwords, same smiling, nodding, carefully aligned. Brand of empowerment. And when every message starts to feel like a rehearsed TED Talk, people stop listening. That podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, it wasn't just tone deaf. It was a parody of ambition, each episode like a guided meditation hosted inside. A Whole Foods. No stories of failure, no late-night anxiety, no wins hard-earned through sweat and risk. Just a lot of finding your truth, and not a single mention of taxes, layoffs, or real work. And when Stewart said the show wasn't about founding anything, but more about someone foundering, that wasn't shade. That was a eulogy. We'll break down the full podcast episode by episode in a future video. Because trust me, it gets even more surreal. The worst part? Meghan's brand used to mean something. She was the biracial woman who stood against the royal machine. She was the American outsider rewriting the monarchy narrative. Now, she's being compared to Brigitte Macron and getting memed for treating Harry like a handbag. And listen, let's be fair, she's not the first person to take control of her image, but she might be the first to lose control of it this fast. All thanks to one joke. Also, we have to ask, why does Meghan always look like she's about to deliver a TED Talk, even when she's just walking the dog? Seriously. Comment below if you've noticed it too. Somebody give her a hoodie and a messy bun. Let her breathe. Because here's the real issue. Satire doesn't kill brands. It reveals them. And once the laughter starts, the power to control the narrative slips away. Meghan's biggest strength used to be her grip on the story. But Stewart didn't just loosen that grip. He ripped it from her hands, held it up to the light and made the audience laugh, and Hollywood noticed. Podcast deals have ended quietly. Studio execs are backing away. The audience has grown silent. And that's way worse than outrage. Because in this world, indifference is death. The tragedy here? Meghan could have owned the moment. She could have laughed, shrugged it off, maybe even joined the joke. Instead, her team scrambled, overreacted, tried to spin it. But you can't spin satire. You ride it or you get buried under it. And this isn't the first time a public figure's brand cracked under the weight of their own narrative. We'll break down another example in our next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. In the end, Stewart didn't destroy Meghan Markle. He just lit the match. The fire, that came from the public, from years of unmet expectations, overpackaged content, and polished vulnerability that never quite rang true. The Meghan story was never about hate, it was about trust. And once the public stops trusting your story, they don't cancel you, they stop caring. And in 2024, that's the real death sentence. Before you go, please note, this video discusses ongoing legal proceedings based on alleged and unverified information. All claims and allegations mentioned have not been confirmed by official sources and are part of a developing case. The views shared are for commentary and discussion purposes only. Always check for updates from reliable sources. Thanks for watching.